I'm one of the, hello, my name is Kyle. I'm one of the decisions solutions architects here. Gotten the privilege of hosting a couple of these, so excited to run through some, I believe we do have a pre-submitted question today, and we'll open the floor. We'll go ahead and address that, and then open the floor to any other questions that might be lingering. And if there's nothing, then we'll build something pretty cool. So, all right, everybody, let me go ahead and switch my screen here. Give me just one moment. All right, so it looks like we have our first submitted question from, I actually don't believe I see this individual here. It's about how to merge PDF documents. Did somebody here have a question regarding merging PDF documents? If not, we can open the floor to any other questions that might be there. All right, we'll hold off on that question then, just in case Manal shows. So in the meantime, does anybody have any questions, whether just something that you're currently working on or developing, or just general questions about decisions development?
Yes, I did have a question. This is Tim Holton from Georgia Southern University.
Hey.
I am running, I don't know if it's an issue or what, and I've submitted a ticket, but I figured maybe I can at least show you. And if maybe you have some kind of solution about what's going on, if not, I can just kind of wait for that ticket to move forward.
Of course. Yeah.
Would I be able to share my screen by chance?
I do believe that you can. Let me go ahead and stop my sharing.
Don't see your share screen option. Let's see. Yeah, I just see chat, raise hand, and Q&A.
Got it. All good. Well, and that might be by design for this. What is? Can
Here,
you walk me through?
I can maybe get some. Maybe I can get some screenshots, and maybe I can attach those in the chat if it'll let me.
Yeah.
So what is happening? Since we've moved to version 7, in the past, I've been able to go into the administrator system tools and then flow management and see like the list of active flows, and then click on those and see the step details for those. But since we've moved to 7, that screen says no data to display for me. And I don't see like a filter option or anything to like, because in the past there was an option, or in version 6 there was an option to yeah, it won't let me paste in here. There was an option to kind of like filter based off flow tracking ID. And the strange thing is some of our analysts can see like all the stored workflow lists, but like myself as like primary administrator, I can't see it as well as some other analysts. I can even impersonate one that's working and I can then see them.
Got it. So to confirm on this report, you're saying
the original
no
flow management, that first tab. Yes,
you're saying that. Yeah. So there's which
it says no data to display for me.
Okay.
Out of 8,400 stored workflows.
Got it. And you said that you have a support ticket. So there are other individuals on your
that can see
the decisions
all of
platform that can see everything.
Correct.
Okay.
That are just designers.
Got it.
I've gone through like account settings and group settings. I thought honestly admin would be the only thing that would affect this. I even had someone remove me from admin and add me back just to see if that might. I've cleared my cache, cookies and stuff like that to maybe see if like maybe it was storing some kind of flow tracking ID from version 6. And it was looking for that specific flow. And that's why it's showing no data to display. But again, there's no way on this page to filter like the fields. I know now you go to stored workflows, search it from there, right? And then you can click that. If you click that, it takes you back to flow management, correct? Into that record.
Oh, if you click here, yeah.
Yes. So I can search stored workflows, but when I click something, it just sends me back to a no data to display screen.
Okay. Yeah, I think if you have, if other administrators on your platform are able to see this, but you are not, I would, yeah,
And it's
keep that
varied.
support
It's about 50-50. Who can
Yeah.
see it and can't see it. So
Okay. Yeah. Do you know what version of 7 you're on?
I can check. I am on it real quick. About 7.10.2. Here, I'll just chat it with the revision in there as well.
I think you're on one of the later versions. Like I don't even think my current local is up to that. So yeah.
And I don't see any way to do permissions or anything like that in any of the folders. So again, the only thing I could think of is maybe if it's from somehow from version 6, when I had like a flow tracking ID typed in there, if it's, I don't know if it's stored somehow, I don't know. But again, I don't know how that answers for others as well.
Got it. Yeah, I would keep that's really good. I haven't heard of this issue. I do see that there is not, I could have, and on my screen, I can confirm that there is no filtering. Now,
Right.
do the other users, admin users on your account, do they have filtering on this report?
They don't. They have
Okay.
to Control F and actually type it in to the browser, Control F to find it now. Because again, we used to be able to just go to the right in version 6 before they added the filter option to that very last field, the flow tracking ID, filter it based off that to find them.
Understood. And
I know now we can do it in stored workflows where you can search it, the flow tracking ID that way, then click on it and it should take you to the screen. But again, that doesn't work. Even for the ones where it does work, it doesn't open the specific one. It opens all of them. It just takes you to the first one.
Got it. Yeah, I would keep that support ticket open and let them rock through that. Feel free to email me too with your ticket number. I'm not sure. Did you just open this up?
I did.
Okay. I was gonna say if it's been open up for a couple days, I'm happy to take a look at it and see where it's at and let you know.
Okay.
But if it's just opened up,
I can just wait on it.
Yeah, I'd give it about a day.
And
we
it's not like a big deal. Mainly what we've used this for in the past, and correct me if I'm wrong in the way we've used this, once you select a stored flow, let's say a registrar denies it, but they intended to approve it. Could we go into this, as long as the flow is still active, go to that step and like restart it to resend it to like that approver, or does that mess up the flow or brick the flow in a certain way? Because I see there's like restart it step, but I don't know if that like messes up with things on the back end or not.
So it will, so restart its step is essentially going to go back to the flow at that point in, so wherever what the data looked like at that point in time, that's where it's going to go to.
What about a start after? Like once they've approved, just start on approved path or something like that. Again, I don't know if that breaks the flow process.
Well, it's essentially taking the flow process, right, and from where you're currently at. So if you have several assignments, right, in a process, and you want to say, hey, I need to go back to this particular process,
right?
I wouldn't consider it as breaking per se. Now there might have to be some management that's done in regard to assignments,
okay, maybe like mapping the data a little better. I think there's like edit flow data and stuff. Okay, because I think I've run into like a few problems in the past that maybe it's just because I haven't been, like you said, using like editing the flow data that's supposed to go into the specific steps.
Yeah, and there are steps to do. You have to dig into our in the flow designer, you really have to dig into our internal services to find them. But there are steps to accomplish this. You have to have a kind of a lot of data to be able to do that success, because obviously here everything's ready, you know, everything's here and all the context is here.
Got
so
you.
you have to have that same context in order to accomplish that.
Okay.
So
Yep, that's really all I had.
okay. Great. Yeah. And like I said, if it's been a few days, you haven't heard back, you know, feel free to reach out. You can.
Yeah, I just submitted this morning. So.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Awesome. I might be mispronouncing it. Manal, is that correct? I see that you were able to connect audio.
Can you hear me fine?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. I had to
All good.
reboot my computer. I submitted a ticket too, but I had, I think it's a quick question. It's like, so I have a form and I was able to convert that into a PDF by having a Word template, but I'm having issue of merging, like, so for example, on the form, a user is able to like attach different PDFs and they can only attach PDFs. But my business requirement is like where I can have all the attached PDF from the form, and the form has a PDF all together. I don't know if that makes sense.
So you have multiple PDFs, and we need to merge them into a single document.
Yes, exactly. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I'm just repeating it back just to make sure I understand. Yeah. So we have a if I can spell. So we have I believe a merge to PDF document step here that will accomplish that. Now you can only do this with 2 different documents. Have you tried this step before?
I have, but how do I do that from the input of the form? So for example, like how do I get all the attachments from the form that they put it into, because that's not a document. Like that's where I'm getting confused.
So you have a form. So we're starting with a form,
Yes.
right? And then so you hit this form, we're uploading multiple documents, and we want to take those documents and merge them into one.
Yes.
Okay. So for this, we could do something like just something really simple. I'm just trying to set this up in such a way that kind of equals your use case here. All right. I think actually, yeah, that's what I want actually instead. Okay, so we have you have a place where you can upload your documents, and then once you exit the form, you want to take those documents. How many could they be? Is it only ever 2, or could they be multiple?
There's no limit.
There's no limit. Okay, so we couldn't just rely on assuming that. So now we have output of this. So
did you do like a 4?
Yeah, so we would loop. So we would loop through each one of those docs, and really, so we would want to take a. So let's initialize this kind of like merged document. And this is going to be, well, first let's see what this outputs. So this gives us a list of bytes. So it's not even outputting files, right? Or it's not actually outputting a file type. So we're actually going to just we're going to make this a byte array. we're just initializing this as something, so we'll interact with this later, right? So that's null at the start of the flow. We upload our documents, okay? And then we're going to loop through each one of those documents, and each one is going to be doc. And then we are going to say, all right, I'm going to take, now this might not like if this is null. We're going to give it a shot, right? So the first time that this runs, this is going to be initialized as null. So we'll see. But we're going to go to doc, right, which is type file data, which is going to bring up this. And here we see content. So that's our byte array. So a file data, so when you upload a file, that's uploading it as type, by default is uploading that as a file data type, which is going to contain things like the file name, file type, the length, which is just like the content length, and then what we really want, which is the contents. This is the actual data in the file. This is what we care about. So we're going to grab that guy.
Quick question, Kyle. Even if it's file reference, it doesn't matter, right? I can just choose it as all data because I'm using file reference.
Yeah. So if you're using file reference, so say let's go ahead and kind of mock this up in the same way. So if we're outputting this as file reference instead, right? So we're going to have to make a quick change here. Ooh, no, I hate it when it just says. There we go. Okay. So on the file reference type, so just like that, I think you just have to dig in a bit deeper. So we're going to go to doc, data, then contents. So it's the same thing. Okay. Now this, so we haven't like loaded, right, this into the backend yet. So we would probably have to handle it a bit different. This is all currently just in memory right now. So we can just dig right down in. So same concept, we just have to dig into the object a little bit further. So we're gonna essentially, so what this is doing, and we're gonna change the value of this merge document, right? So we're gonna loop through, and it's going to say, okay, I'm gonna take whatever this is, and I'm gonna add to it, right? So for each one of those documents uploaded, I'm just going to continuously add to this thing over here. And then at the end, I should have this big, beautiful document. I'm going to run a quick test because I have a feeling that this step might not like this being null on the first iteration. So we'll handle that a bit differently. So let's debug this, and I'm going to let's see if I have any.
Does it matter the file type? If it's not PDFs like JPEGs, you don't have to do any converts or anything like that?
I think we would probably have to convert it. I'm almost certain we'd have to convert it.
Like an image or something to PDF.
Yep. Let me just try this real quick. These two here. Oh, so it took it after all. So now let's run another form. And I'm just picking two PDFs that are currently saved on my computer here. Probably just make some dummy ones here. All right, so we're going to do pick existing. I think I just made document viewer. Now this is where it might get a little bit tricky, right? Because right now we have just this byte array that's been built. So we have like two documents that we just merged to make one big byte array. So for this, currently I'm taking in just file data for this viewer, just for an example, right? So I'm going to build this data, select from flow, and this is going to be that merge document. Now, the problem is that I can't just pass in the byte array. The document viewer has to know the file name and the file type, which it'll get from that. So we'll just do like a test PNG. All right, run this, do the same test here. something is not happy. Can you all still see my screen? I think Zoom just kind of freaked out for a
can.
moment.
It seems like it's lagging a little bit.
Yep. Something is like stuck on here, let's exit out of here, exit out of here.
Yeah, I see like a tube and a block.
Yeah, yeah. Here, let me stop sharing my screen momentarily. And let me come back to this. All right, well, I think we might have to deal with that little 2 there for the moment. Let me go and share my screen again. Zoom was not happy about that, guys. All right, I'm actually just gonna move screens to a different screen. All right, is that better? Can everybody see this now?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that, everyone. All right, so let's go back into this and try this one more time. All right. All right, that did not bring anything up. Let's see what we got going on here. So we have our test.png, passing in our documents. Let's see what type this is expecting. Possibly because this came off of a file reference type. All right, so we're going to build data. Let's flip this back. So what I'm doing is I'm just trying to make sure that this is expecting the right type. Let's try this because we're working with file reference. Let's see if we can just interact and create a file reference instead. Bit of a discovery here. Okay, see if we can interact with that directly. And then we'll go back to changing that. Now, I'm not sure if you're trying to show like a viewer or if you're just trying to store the data, but at least this way we can see that the documents have merged.
I'm doing
That's
the
what
same thing where they can like, the form pops up and they have like the download button and then it's all like merged into the PDF too. Then I convert it into the PDF.
Perfect. All right. So we do want to build this, and I'm going to build this as a, let's do file name is going to be just that test. Oh, that's, I think I chose test PNG. I think that's why that didn't work. But let's see if this works because you're working with file reference. All right. And let's see if this works. Nope. What error are we throwing? Probably because it's a null item. Okay. So we're going to ignore that for now. And then what we're going to do No, we still need to pass that in. Build data. File name is that test PDF. Let's give it a current date time. Let's do an ID, just a generic ID for now. Size will be 0. Okay. All right, we're going to choose these files. All right. So let's see, let's go back and see if this prefers doing this as a file data type. It's going to throw us a warning because we're currently passing in a file reference data. And we're going to, oh, and it could have actually been because I didn't change the mapping on this, right? Because look, we're still mapped into the old. So let's try this instead. So we're going to come here, data, contents. That might be what's going on. Sorry for the back and forth, everyone. Just a bit of this is a fun little exercise we're doing. All right. And try this one more time, at least while using this file reference. Still doesn't like building the file reference in that way. All right, so let's go back to using the file. We're gonna go to merge document. Contents, we're gonna change the merge document here. And then we're gonna go change this back to file data. And then try and build this again. Test PDF, let's see if that works. Interesting. Let's try this over here. I actually made a small microcosm of this as just merging two in the same way, except we're just hard coding both of those. And let's see if this, so this works as intended. This is the result we're looking for, right? Except
Yes.
now we just want to be able to download it. So something here is a bit different. So we're passing in new file, PDF, file types PDF. All right, it's probably something to do with our loop. Oh, look at that. Okay. Test PDF, do that set up in the same way. Updating merge document. Yep. All right. Keeps wanting to reload that. Okay, so every time we loop through, so the first iteration of this, ooh. So let's take a look at that. So every time we are, aha. So going back to my initial concern was how this was going to handle a null value. It looks like it doesn't like it, but I would expect this to return an error. So what we're going to do instead is I want a first iteration, right? So if we go into our for each loop, if you go to this outcomes tab, we can actually have a loop just for the first item. And sometimes in V7, you have to exit and save and come back and then it'll show. Okay, so bit different, right? So for the first one, we can assume that this initialized file will not, it'll be empty, right? So we need to set that up. So we're actually simply going to take a mapping step. So on the first iteration here, we'll clean up these lines. So on the first iteration, on this mapping step, once it loads, and this is another finicky step where sometimes you just have to exit and come back and then it'll load. All right, so we have our merged document, and now we are going to make that the doc data contents. All right, so on the first iteration, we're going to set this to equal that because so far it's empty. So we're not actually merging it with anything yet. And the following iteration should add to that. I'm hoping that makes sense. All right, let's try this again. Document 1 is null. All right, so on our first, that's my fault. So when you do have this extra output, so by default, we always go to next. But because we have this, we actually can name it something different. We're going to keep that naming convention the same. All right.
Just a quick question. You can name them anything, right? It's just you're selecting a different.
Correct.
Okay.
There we go. So this gave us the result where it finally merged there. So we got there, everyone. All right, so let's talk about what we did. All right, just as a review. So we initialized an empty byte array. This is going to act as the thing that we want to build up, right? Because essentially we want to make a single document. We're going to initialize this as null. We then have our form, which we then the user uploads all of their documents. We're going to loop through each one of those submitted forms to merge together to essentially build this initialized object up so we can view it or download it or send it, whatever we'd like to do with it. Now, we determined that we can't just, being that this is null out of the gate, we can't merge anything yet. So we have to have this first iteration of the loop. And then we use a mapping step to set that to essentially set this as that first document. So that way, the first time it's going to set this as from the contents from the first document we're looking through. And then all other documents will then be merged to it. Hoping now, does this kind of solve your conundrum?
Yes. It just, I know, sorry about that. Like a final question. I'm doing like a converting the PDF step where I do the convert document, and that should be like rather than after the done step, that's where I have it right now. where I do the convert
So,
document.
okay. And you're converting it to what?
PDF.
Okay.
Mhm.
Are all the documents that you're uploading, are all those PDFs?
Yes, so the requirement is like they can only upload the PDF except the form, which I'm converting it to PDF to from the Word
Okay.
template.
So I actually didn't need to convert to PDF because the forms themselves, the contents are from a PDF document. Simply setting this, like, and setting up this, building this file data document on here as, and it's just setting the file name. Now you can set up this file name anywhere. You know, if there are specific requirements on here that the file name has to be, you know, based off the date or the individual who named it, you can build it up that way. We can just go to merge PDF and we can say, you know, flow data, current user email, and then we can go to start time. And then .pdf. Now, where this would become an issue, just hard coding PDF, right, is if, you know, if this is just not, if what we're working with are not PDFs, but if you're converting those already, I think having a final conversion, I don't think is necessary. But are you finding that you're running into an issue if you don't?
Yes, because to convert the form into a PDF, I have a Word template, and then I just like take the tokens and put it in there. So that's why I have to convert it into the PDF, otherwise it won't work.
So you are inserting these into a Word document?
Just the form. On the like just the form output, but the documents that the user uploads on the form, they're always going to be PDF.
Okay. So you're
Mhm.
saying after this form, they're
Mhm.
uploaded to a or within this loop, they're inserted into the Word document.
So it's like it's like the form. I need a PDF of just the form, and then I need the PDF all the other attachments merged into that form PDF.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of
I
like
get,
hard to explain.
yeah, because I guess the sending it to a Word document, I guess I'm not totally following if that's necessary.
Okay, because I use the step like replace text in Word document, and then I
Mm-hmm.
just replace it with the tokens of like whatever, like the field that I'm trying to populate, and then just convert it into the PDF.
Got it.
Kyle, I think she's saying that she has inputs on the form alongside the document upload. Those inputs need to become a PDF itself to then be merged as a separate PDF to the uploaded documents.
Got it. That is an interesting one. Now, where like in this process, where are you currently doing that?
So let me just take out. Oh yeah, I can't share the screen. So sorry about that. Let me take it out.
Oh no, you're fine.
So let's generate PDF. So the first step that I do is just like replace. I have my form, and I'm doing this as an end user action because I want them to be able to download all the forms, and I mean all the attachments in the form that they uploaded all together.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do replace text in Word document, and then I just do convert document, which does all the PDF. And then I output in another form, which have like a button, that download form. That works completely fine for just the form right now, but not the attachments. And that's, I think, where I have to put the loop in. So that's why I was confused. Like, where do you think like I should put the convert document step in there?
Got it. Okay. I'm assuming
this is a tricky question.
No, it's fine. I'm assuming that you would have to, depending on where, because so we're looping through the attachments, and then we need to getting those. Would there be one final merge? I don't think there would actually. Probably right here is where we would then convert to PDF. Trying to.
Or do you think would it be better if I just have that as a subflow and then I do all this step again and then just.
That is one way to do it.
Could you create the PDF right after the form, and then instead of looping the first item, you just, that initial document is that converted PDF?
That would
So
actually,
you wouldn't create
yeah.
a blank document. Your first PDF would be the converted form.
So you would do, we used to say convert document to PDF. And then this would become, so you would take this converted document, you could edit, you could do, edit this, but you could just do expose properties and then rename the contents to this, and then that should handle that. Does this make sense?
Yes, and then in the end, I will just have like all together the form has a PDF and then the attachments to the PDF.
Correct. So you would have your form, right? And then, so like this would be, now you're getting the attachments that you're looping through from the Word document, correct?
From the form.
From the form. Okay,
Yes.
got it. Yep. And then, so the document here, you would convert that. And what you're looking for is this byte array. So essentially this is gonna, so instead of initializing it here, we'd be setting up this thing, right? And I'm actually not sure who mentioned that idea. It was a great idea. Was that Jeremy?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. And then, so instead of having this first iteration, we would actually just simply just loop through all those attachments, and it would just build this document up.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. I'll try to do that right now. Thank you.
Absolutely. If that doesn't work out in any way, feel free to email me, shoot me some screenshots. You can take a look at it and see where there might be, or feel free to export the project, that flow at least, and can check it out and see where, what can be done.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Coming up on 15 minutes. Does anyone else have any other questions? All righty. So here's the next question. Is there a way to filter a report by a date range without creating a custom filter? So we are wanting to ingest, so I can understand, and forgive me, is that, how do you pronounce that name? Morelli? Morelli? Okay. Okay. Now, and you're in 619. I don't have a local version of 619 currently, but are we, let me go ahead and get just like a mock report up real quick. We're just gonna report on like the account type. So you're saying you want to be able to filter the date range without adding a filter here?
Right. So if you add a field that's a date of any kind,
Yep.
and that's good enough for this purpose, and then you go look at the report itself. So view the report.
Mm-hmm.
There's an option to filter, or there is in 6, where you can click.
Yeah.
If
Where you can click
there's a
right
filter.
here.
But it just brings up one box. It doesn't give you an option to filter a range.
So the ability to filter a date range on the actual report line itself,
Correct.
on the header itself. I don't know. I don't think we have the ability to do that. The only way that we can do date ranges is if we set up a filter here.
And that becomes a problem because I have 2 different fields that they may want to filter on, not at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how to do that.
So let's take a step back and say, so what determines, so you're saying that we have 2 different fields. So we have, let's
say there's created date and modified date.
Yeah. Oh, hold
and
on.
someone's looking for a particular account in this case, and they say, it could be 2 different users, it could be any reason why. Somebody wants to look for it by the created date.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else wants to look for it by the modified date. There's no reason for 2 reports. Both fields are there. I just need to be able to filter by a range.
Mm-hmm. But the question is, yeah, which one of these to filter by? Right.
Right. I can add
Yeah.
a filter to both, then it attempts to filter them both at the same time, which is not what I want. I want you to be able to, when you open the report, say, I want to look for a thing that was modified in this range. And then tomorrow you might say, I want to look for a thing that was created in this range.
So
and I do have a support ticket on that. I was just curious to see if I had missed some option to just hit filter and make it be a range.
Yeah, right. No, so out of the box for 6 and 7, being able to, because even in 7, right? If I hit run report, and if I come up here, this is where the filtering lies, right? And if I go to like created on date, I don't get, even here, I don't get like a range, right?
Right.
That would have to be defined by the field filters. Now, you could, it would, now does this report currently live on a dashboard?
Yes.
Yeah. So what you could do is, it would take a bit of configuration, but ultimately you can have, so if I did like, create a form, just to toss this on here real quick. You might be able to do something like, so if we get a report viewer, and this is picking our report right here. All right, now you could use what's called a flow run part to actually create a flow that sends those filters. So you can essentially allow a person to say, hey, this is the, so you can actually have, let me see here. So we would go to like a flow run part, right? And so this says, okay, on this dashboard, I have this flow. This flow can do anything, right? But in here, so this is kind of, it's being a little tricky, but if we wanted to create this, you can say report filter flow. Now in here, I can take a form. And this form is going to be, filter report form. pretty simple names, I know. All right, and let's mess with the size just a little bit. All right, and we're gonna drop a button in here, and this is gonna say like search. And trying to whip this up quickly. Let's do, this is not going to be like super pretty, but right. Actually, let's make all of these. All right, and so we're going to have these labels, and this is just going to be like, so this is created on date from to. Then you can do the same thing for modified, right?
Okay.
And then let's do not a date time, just a date picker. This is created on from, created on to. All right, so just for the sake of expediency here, because I know we're getting close to time, you're going to use a step called here it is, set dashboard report parameters. Okay, and give me 1 second. I'm actually going to come over here to a different tab. And in this, I'm going to make another folder, just a dash for this is going to be called test report dash folder. There we go. Maybe, did it make it? Perhaps it did. All right, so we're going to get this folder ID because we're saying that, hey, I want you to update any filters on this that live on this folder, right? That use these particular filters with the data that I'm about to pass in. So I'm going to, in tandem, I'm going to go into this report, right, that we made.
Okay.
And so I'm going to make a filter for, oops, field filters. Let's go to created on date is greater than or equal to, and we're going to say created on date from. You can actually change the filter names, but it's really important that these names match exactly what's on here. As you can see, I now have a created on date from, and I'm pulling this from the form, right? And then same thing, I'm going to add another, and this one is going to be field filters. I know I just have like 4 minutes. I'm trying to go very quickly. Created on date is should be less than or equal to. All right, and then I'm just going to loop this back around. So that way, every time I hit submit, it's just going to let me continue to enter that in. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so that's been set. We have that. I'm sure there's going to be some adjustments we're going to have to make, but let's see. So we have that set there. We're going to go to our test dashboard. We're going to add that page. and we see this thing here, this form's obviously massive, but tossing that together. Okay, so let's look at some of these dates real quick. Let's go from 9 to 10. So 9 of last year. Let's go from August 3rd to, just want to see 8. Search, let's see if that updated. Did not. Why did it not? Let's see. Oh, runtime. Oh, sorry. Very important. Get values from other reports.
Okay.
Missed a thing here. Save. Yep. All right. And run. And there you go. So that was just based off created on date. So you could put logic into that flow run part that says, if somebody left modified date blank, that we really only want to update the modified date or the created on date. So there are things like this that you can do. Now, obviously, if we took some, this was thrown together in less than 10 minutes, so we can make this look a lot nicer and cleaner and intuitive, and but that would be an option. So you would have, essentially some filtering kind of a form flow up here that interacts with your dashboard down here.
Okay, real quick, this assumes that there's only one report on the page, correct?
Correct. That's using, so again, that's using the, now you can have many reports on this page. So again, what this is looking for, remember that step that we use, that the report dashboard parameters, I think. It's looking for specifically these filter names. So if you want all the reports to honor that, you just have to set them to also have that same filter name.
Okay.
Or alternatively, if you don't want them to update, if you want this to be totally independent from and only refresh and update certain reports, then you'll only have those filters set on those reports.
Okay. And I'll come back with my additional questions another day since we're out of time.
Yeah, and feel free if you run into any issues with this. I know you have a support ticket open. They can run through some of this. They may have other options for you as well, but this is a solution for you. It might not be the solution, but it is a solution.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. All right. And we are perfectly right at time. That was timed very, very well. Thanks everyone for attending. Always a pleasure doing these. And I'll see you guys next time.
Kyle, I have a question. We didn't get to Jeremy's question. Do you want him to email you, or does he need to submit a support ticket?
How can I remove duplicate items from a list? I can answer this real quick, actually. Let me just do a quick time check and just make sure. Yep, we are good. I have a few minutes left. So Jeremy, do these items live in the database, or is this a list like in a flow?
It's a list I've created in a flow.
Okay, so we have a flow, sure. And so kind of disconnecting some of these things that we were working with earlier. All right. So we have a list, and let's just, for the sake of the example, we're just going to say this is a list of strings. And so I'm assuming are you iterating through this list at any certain time?
When I build the list, I'm creating that list from some data. But when I create the data, I have items that are of identical names. So I want to just parse that down to one instance of that duplicate item, if that makes sense.
Got it. So you're creating, so there's two things you could, if you're looping through, you could check to see if we do have like a string list contains, if this is like a complex object, you could check like the string, like if it's got like an entity name that's duplicate, you can check this, you can check that. If it contains it, then we do nothing. If it doesn't contain it, then we add it to the list. I also believe that we have a, what is the, I am drawing a blank. What is the, we use it in SQL to see unique values, distinct. I think we have fetch distinct values. Oh no, that's fetch distinct values. I think get this, oh, it's only distinct list of strings. Is it a string list that we're working with?
Yes, it's a list of strings.
So you could, so you already have the list when you come into the flow and you only want the distinct list of them?
Yeah, I want to like have a list of strings and I want to pass, then I want to remove the duplicates and then iterate through them.
Okay, so in that case, this is going to be the step for you. Specifically works with the list of strings. So you would say, you would get your list passed in, right? And then you would say, so actually you want to define it here. String list. And then you would pass that string list into this step, which is the get distinct list of strings, right? It's then going to output your distinct list. So it's essentially going to output you a list of distinct values. So if you have strings of like 1, 1, 2, 2, so on and so forth, it would only give you 1 and 2. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and then from there you could then iterate through the list.
We'll give that a try.
Yep. If that doesn't work for you, just shoot me an email and let me know.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Great. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. I know we're a little over time, but if there's anything else y'all need, just let us know.